Well, that was something I wanted to make sure my presentation addressed, and that was what it feels like in at work right now in L&D with the advent of AI and the amount of change that's coming.
Right.
Because I feel like that has an impact on how everything gets done. My belief, ever since I got started in L&D, I've always been interested in systems, but I've also been very focused on the individual ingredients, the individual people that make up the system. And I've always said you can't ignore either. You can't try to change a system without taking into account the impact that's going to have on the individuals who make up the system and expect it to happen overnight or even change. It's like turning a big ship. And that's often what happens. Things come from the top down. They say, this is the change. This is the new roadmap. These are the new mission statements. These are our pillars of etc. And everyone needs to sort of get up to speed and start doing things in alignment with that. And everyone is sort of left on their own they're given a couple of resources to help them understand what's being asked of them, and then it's kind of up to them. And you notice that in different departments it gets handled differently, or it gets embraced to different degrees, right? It's always
Right.
about internal resistance, like what are the obstacles
Yes.
happening at the employee level that is causing friction, right? And the problem again with a system only approach is it doesn't account for any of those individual friction points, and so you get a very unevenly distributed success or lack of success rollout. It doesn't happen smoothly. And conversely, if you give everyone an idea about what they should be doing, but you don't provide the framework and you don't support it from the top down, those same internal frictions are going to cause failures to occur. And you're also going to wind up with a widely varying, you know, field of how the new direction is looking depending on what department you're in, right? It's going to look very different because everybody's kind of going off in their own direction. So you have to do both. You have to design a system with the individual characteristics in mind. And if you bring that same approach to your work with AI, whether you're creating a custom GPT and you have the luxury of knowing it from the code up, what it is going to do more often than not, um, or you're working with something like ChatGPT, where you have to do a little bit more investigative reporting. You have to pay closer attention to the outputs you're getting and look for patterns. I think pattern recognition, ironically, AI is wonderful at pattern recognition, but it's amazing how rarely it will identify it will volunteer up its own patterns. You have to go to it and say, I'm starting to notice a trend, AI,
Mhm.
verify the following for me. And then it will say, oh, yes, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what's happening and what I'm doing. And then you can say, oh, all right, rule number one, let's put a guardrail there. Don't do that unless X, Y, and Z is, in the equation. But I just, what I want to say as a follow up to what you just said is I think that there's real joy to be found in making the integration of AI a group thing. In other words, rather than
Yes.
providing individual learning solutions like online e-learning courses or whatever it is that is intended to help people like study by themselves and sort of get up to speed, you make it a group activity, right? People will understand what's going on much faster if they are working together to use the AI to solve a problem. And it shouldn't be limited to IT. It shouldn't be limited to those who have the luxury of rolling up their sleeves and putting their hands into Ethernet cables. It's like you want to spread the love around and make it feel like something that is for everybody.
Right,
And
absolutely. Yeah, that's so true because we've got these AI guides for different people in the department. We're working on one for the instructional designers right now, and it's actually pretty neat because we're looking at what was created for the curriculum developers, and we're like, but we can't make it exactly the same because what we do is different. But over the course of the last 18 months or so, I've been able to to come up with different ideas. Some of it's been from the faculty, some of it's been from stakeholders, and it's like, oh, well, that's a good idea. I didn't think of using AI in that way, but yeah, and we experiment with it. You're right. It's a collaborative effort, and so it's so important not to stay siloed in those types of situations and really utilize everybody's talents. And right, that's what we did before AI. We utilized everybody's talents and brought everybody together. So I think it's just as important now to do that than ever, right? To have that
Don't
collaborative
you think
effort.